For years, I was responsible for the performance of people who didn't report to me. No authority, no title, and still accountable. And that's where I learned one of the most important lessons of my career. Authority makes people comply. Influence makes people believe. Today, I want to challenge a quiet assumption many developers carry, that you need a title before you can shape decisions, guide others, or truly impact your team. You don't. And the earlier you understand this, the faster your career changes direction. Most professionals grow up with a simple mental model. First, you gain experience, then you get promoted. Then you get authority. Then finally, people listen to you. But real organizations rarely work like that. If you look closely at high-performing teams, you will notice something interesting. The people shaping direction are not always the ones with the biggest titles. Some engineers influence architecture without being architects. Some developers guide product decisions without being product managers. And some individuals become the person everyone turns to, long before any promotion happens. The question that matters is, why? Because influence is not granted by HR. It is earned through behavior. Titles give you permission to manage. Influence is what makes people want to follow. And those are two very different forces. Long before I switched career to software engineering, I learned this lesson in banking. At one point, I was co-responsible for the development and performance of roughly 25 banking advisors and a few branch directors. None of them reported directly to me. I couldn't evaluate them, I couldn't promote them, I couldn't reduce their bonuses. Formally, I had very little power. But I was still expected to help them succeed, which forced me to confront a difficult question very early in my career. How do you lead when you can't rely on authority? What I discovered is that when authority disappears, only the essentials remain. Your credibility, your clarity, your consistency, your ability to create trust. There is nowhere to hide. Looking back, it was one of the best leadership trainings I could have received. Because modern engineering teams often operate the same way. You don't need to manage someone to influence them. You just need to become someone worth listening to. The first mechanism of influence is competence. People naturally move toward those who demonstrate sound judgment. Not raw brilliance, not showing off what you know, just good judgment. When you consistently understand problems deeply, propose thoughtful solutions, anticipate risks, communicate clearly, something subtle begins to happen. People start asking for your opinion, even when they don't have to. That is influence. Notice what's happening here. No announcement was made, no role changed, yet your gravitational pull increased. Many developers underestimate this. They believe influence comes from speaking louder. In reality, it comes from being right, calmly, and repeatedly. Before you chase authority, ask yourself, would people trust my judgment, even if my title disappeared tomorrow? If the answer is yes, you are already building influence. The second mechanism is clarity. Teams are often surrounded by uncertainty. Priorities shift, trade-offs are messy, decisions are rarely obvious from a first glance. In that environment, the person who can articulate a clear path forward becomes incredibly valuable. Not because they control others, but because they reduce uncertainty. When someone can step into a messy situation, explain what's actually happening, and outline a reasonable path forward, people naturally lean in. Clarity lowers stress, speeds up decisions, and helps team move. And over time, the person who consistently brings the clarity becomes someone others trust to guide the way. Clarity is a form of leadership. And you can practice this today. Instead of only identifying problems, try framing direction. Here are the options. Here are the risks. Here is what I recommend. You don't need permission to think this way. And over time, people begin to align around those who make complexity easier to navigate. Senior engineers are often not the fastest coders in the room. They are the clearest thinkers. The third mechanism is trust. Without trust, authority becomes fragile. With trust, influence scales far beyond your role. But trust is built through small, repeated signals. And most of them look almost boring from the outside. You do what you say you will do, even if it's inconvenient. You give credit publicly and take responsibility privately. You admit when you are wrong instead of defending your ego. You choose what is good for the team over what makes you look smart. None of these actions are dramatic, but together they send a powerful message. You are safe to work with. Over time, something subtle shifts. People stop double-checking you. They stop protecting themselves in conversations. Meetings become less political and more honest. And when people feel psychologically safe, they listen differently. Your words carry more weight, not because you pushed harder, but because trust removed the friction. Here is something many professionals misunderstand. Influence is not about making people do things. It is about becoming someone people believe. When people believe you, they don't just hear your opinion. They factor it into their decisions. They invite you earlier into important conversations. They ask what you think before choosing a direction. That is real influence. And belief cannot be forced. It can only be earned slowly through consistency that others learn they can rely on. Many careers stall because people wait for authority before stepping up. They tell themselves a very reasonable story. When I become senior, then I will act like it. Then I will speak more. Then I will challenge decisions. Then I will take ownership. But careers rarely move forward because of permission. They move forward because of visible behavior. And the pattern usually works in the opposite direction. You act with leadership first. You act with ownership first. You think beyond your ticket. You care about outcomes, not just tasks. You speak when something matters, even if nobody asks. Then something subtle begins to shift. People start looking at you differently. They involve you earlier. They trust you with more difficult problems. And over time, opportunities stop feeling accidental. So instead of asking, what authority do I have to do that? Start asking, am I becoming someone others naturally trust? Because that is the real career question. Not do I have the title, but do people rely on my judgment? Organizations don't just promote skills. They promote perceived impact. They promote the people others already listen to. And influence is one of the clearest signals that your impact is being noticed. If there is one idea I want you to leave with, it is this. Stop waiting for authority. Start building influence. Focus on your judgment, sharpen your thinking, communicate with clarity, and earn trust. Do this long enough and something interesting happens. People begin to follow your lead even before any title changes. Because while authority is assigned, influence is recognized and earned. And in the long run, it is influence that shapes careers. If this perspective resonated with you, consider reflecting on your current environment. Where could you step forward without being asked? Where could you create clarity? Where could help others succeed? You may discover that the next level of your career doesn't start with a promotion. It starts with how you show up tomorrow.